So today we are at one of our reefs that we've built in the Indian River Lagoon, our oyster project. So the Brevard Zoo is building the reef and UCF is monitoring the reefs for us.
The University of Central Florida Coastal Industrial and Ecology Lab, known as C-Lab, we've been working in the Indian River Lagoon for over 2 decades. When Brevard County developed this Save Our Indian River Lagoon program, we were hired as an independent contractor to do the monitoring.
Oysters are an important ecosystem engineer in the lagoon and a keystone species in the lagoon. They like to live on top of each other, so that's what makes that big reef, and it provides homes for lots of different animals in the lagoon. And they also are filter feeders, so they take in water and they run it over their gills and they produce and spit out nice, clean water. So oysters help us filter out the nutrients that cause algae blooms, like nitrogen and phosphorus. Today we are pulling up the monitored bags that exist on this reef.
We pull those out and then we are opening those bags up and counting all of the live oysters that are in them, measuring the length of those oysters, as well as checking to see whether other organisms are in there. Barnacles, tube worms, other little crabs, and that sort of thing, to see what else is living within that reef. As we said, it's a whole ecosystem, and that's what we are in fact finding. So here we're finding lots of oysters. We're finding oysters that are growing. Here's an example where an oyster which originally settled on this oyster shell, as it's grown, is connected to a separate oyster shell. This forms what's called a bridge. This is what oysters do in oyster reefs. They provide that 3-dimensional structure. So that's what we're starting to see here as well.
We've learned a lot over the last 6 years. We've also changed our methodologies a little bit. And now the project has evolved and we're close to over 20 different oyster reefs in Brevard County.
So they don't have the larval source like we do in Mosquito Lagoon. So that's why they are having to use the gardened oysters as a way to sort of jumpstart these places where they're doing reef restoration.
And of course, we've seen a lot of the reefs that are near natural oyster populations, like the one here at Riverview, has a lot of oysters, so those ones are doing the best. So moving forward, as we increase the populations, we can move into areas that don't have as many oysters, so kind of making an oyster highway and increase the populations in those areas as well. So I've lived in Brevard County my whole life, and after I graduated college, I was really excited to come back to Brevard and work with the Brevard Zoo. In the conservation department, it's important for us to restore the habitat that we've lost.